Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into something that's way more than just like design fluff.
Right.
We're talking logos.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's important.
Not just any logos, we're getting into why they're absolutely mission critical for UMKMs out there.
Yeah, you sent us some fascinating sources on this, so let's unpack them.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I used to think a logo was just a pretty picture,
Mm-hmm.
but these sources have totally changed my perspective.
Yeah.
It's like the more I learn about branding, the more I realize how much strategy goes into every little detail.
It's true. A logo is often the very first point of contact a customer has with your brand.
Right.
It's that split-second chance to make a powerful first impression.
And in a crowded marketplace, that first impression can make or break you.
Right.
Especially for UMKMs who might not have the budget for huge marketing campaigns.
Absolutely. It's like that old saying, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Right.
Your logo is that visual handshake conveying your brand's personality and values before you even say a word.
Okay, that makes total sense. But what's really striking is that these sources go beyond just talking about aesthetics.
Okay.
They highlight how a well-designed logo can actually impact a UMKM's bottom line.
Exactly. One source called it an investment, which I thought was spot on.
Yeah.
Think about it. Increased brand value, a higher level of customer trust, instant recognition. Those are all tangible benefits that can lead to greater success.
You know, it never occurred to me how strategic you have to be with a logo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a crash course in marketing psychology. So for our UMKMs listening who are working with limited resources, where do they even begin?
One of the most important things is to keep it simple.
Okay.
Think about some of the most iconic logos out there. Apple, Nike, even something like a simple McDonald's arch.
Right.
They're incredibly stripped back, yet instantly recognizable.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that. Simplicity equals memorability, right?
Yeah,
You don't want
so-
something overly complicated that gets lost in the shuffle.
Precisely, and the beauty is you don't need to be a design whiz to come up with something effective.
Right.
There are tons of free design tools available online, like Canva, which even I've found pretty user-friendly.
Canva is amazing.
It is.
It's like having a mini design studio at your fingertips.
It really is.
And for inspiration, you can't go wrong with sites like Pinterest or Behance.
Pinterest, yeah.
They're bursting with creative ideas.
Absolutely.
But once you've got a handle on the design basics, how do you choose the right colors?
Right.
Because that seems like a whole other layer of the logo game.
Color is huge.
Yeah.
It's not just about aesthetics. It's about evoking specific feelings and associations.
Okay.
For example, blue is often associated with trust and stability. That's why you see it used by so many banks and insurance companies.
So if you're in UMKM selling, say, handmade soaps, that sense of trust and natural calmness that blue evokes could be a great fit for your logo.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, a vibrant red might be perfect for a food stall wanting to attract attention in a busy market.
Exactly. It's about choosing colors that resonate with your brand's personality and the emotions you want to evoke in your target audience.
Right.
Speaking of making sure your logo hits the mark, let's talk about the importance of getting feedback.
It's something I'm all about. Getting those outside opinions can be so valuable.
Absolutely. Share different logo drafts with friends, family, potential customers, anyone who will give you honest feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like having a focus group for your brand's first impression. What might seem clear as day to you could be interpreted in a totally different way by someone else,
Right.
which is why that feedback loop is golden.
It is.
You know, one thing that really struck me while going through these sources was the emphasis on logos for UMKMs.
Right.
Like, not just being about attracting customers,
Yeah.
but also about representing something deeper, more intrinsic to the business itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about distilling the very essence of your brand into a single powerful visual. What are your core values? What makes your products or services unique?
Yeah.
Your logo can convey all of that and more in a single glance.
It's like that quote from one of the sources.
Mm-hmm.
A logo is a representation of values and mission.
Yes.
So powerful, right?
It really is. A well-designed logo doesn't just attract customers, it attracts the right customers.
Oh, wow.
Those who connect with your values, your story, your reason for being.
Right.
That's how you build a loyal, following a community that truly resonates with your brand.
It's not just a transaction.
Right.
It's a connection. I love that.
Exactly.
And then speaking of connection, I was also struck by how much emphasis these sources placed on the marketing power of a logo, especially for UMKMs.
It's huge. Think of it as a mini billboard that you can use absolutely everywhere. Your website, social media product packaging, even business cards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating a whole brand world, one visual element at a time.
Exactly. A strong, consistent logo across all those touch points creates a unified, memorable brand experience for your customers.
Right.
It's about building that instant recognition.
Yeah.
Imagine a potential customer scrolling through their social media feed.
Okay.
A strong logo can stop their thumb in its tracks and make them take notice.
It's like that saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words,
Yes.
but for your business.
Exactly.
But what about UMKMs who might be a few years in? Maybe their logo was designed on a shoestring budget and they're starting to feel like it's not quite cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
Is it ever too late to make a change?
It's never too late to refine and refresh your brand identity.
Okay.
In fact, one of the sources we have here specifically talked about how important logo adaptation is, especially in our fast-paced, ever-evolving digital world.
The only constant is change, right?
Exactly. Consumer preferences change, trends come and go, and your business itself might be on a whole new trajectory than when you first started out.
Right.
A logo should never be static. It should grow and evolve alongside your business.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how do you know when it's time for a logo refresh?
Sure.
Are there any telltale signs?
Absolutely. One of the biggest ones is if your logo no longer accurately reflects your brand.
Okay.
Maybe you've expanded your product line, shifted your target audience, or maybe your brand values have evolved. It's like your business has had a growth spurt, but your logo is stuck in its awkward teenage years.
Or maybe you just realized that neon green really wasn't the best choice.
We've all been there.
Right.
But in all seriousness, another telltale sign is if your logo simply feels outdated,
Okay.
like it's stuck in a time warp and no longer resonates with your audience.
That's when you know it's time to inject some fresh energy into your visual identity.
Absolutely.
And this time, you're armed with all the wisdom and insights we're gleaning from this deep dive.
Yes.
But let's get into the nitty-gritty here.
Yeah.
We've talked about the why of a logo refresh.
Okay.
But what about the how? Okay, so for our UMKMs out there thinking, this is all great, but I'm working with a super tight budget, what are some creative, low-cost ways to approach a logo refresh?
Well, resourcefulness is key. One source suggested something I found quite clever: analyze your competitors' logos.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
A little competitive reconnaissance.
Exactly. Not to copy them, of course, but to gather inspiration. What are they doing? Well, what falls flat? It's like free market research.
And if you stumble across a logo you absolutely love,
Yeah.
you can dissect it, right?
Yeah.
Figure out what makes it work and see if you can apply those principles to your own design.
Precisely.
Right.
Maybe they nailed the color palette, but their font choice is a bit off. Use those observations as stepping stones. And speaking of stepping stones, let's not forget about those fantastic free design tools we talked about, like Canva.
Right. Canva is a game changer, especially for budget-conscious entrepreneurs. But you know what else I learned from these sources? There are actually tons of free or very low-cost resources online. Beyond just Canva, we're talking stock images, icons, even entire font libraries.
That's right. It's incredible what you can find these days without breaking the bank. It just takes a little digging and some creative thinking.
And sometimes a fresh set of eyes can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of your own network. Maybe you have a design-savvy friend or a family member who's just starting out and looking to build their portfolio. You might be surprised at the talent you can find right under your nose.
Collaboration can spark some seriously amazing results.
It can.
But once you've gone through this whole process, landed on that perfect logo, what then? It's not enough to just slap it on your website and call it a day, right?
You got it. It's time to tell your logo story. Shout it from the rooftops, or at least your social media platforms. Explain the meaning behind the design, the thought process, what makes it uniquely you.
People connect with stories. It's a way to give your logo even more depth and meaning.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get your audience involved. Run contests, ask for feedback, make it interactive. Engagement is key, especially for UNKMs trying to stand out in a crowded marketplace.
So as we wrap up this logo-licious deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I'd say it's this. A powerful logo is an investment, not an expense. Especially for UNKMs, it's a visual ambassador for your brand that can have a real, tangible impact on your success.
It's about making that first impression count and then making sure it lasts.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, a huge thanks to you for joining us today and sharing your insights. This has been eye-opening.
My pleasure.
And all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to take a fresh look at your brand's visual identity. Remember, a little logo, love can go a long way. Until next time, stay curious.